If you're thinking about buying a small electric SUV in the next couple of years, do not hit order before you watch this. The cars you're seeing in dealer brochures right now are not the same cars you'll see on the road in 2026. Battery tech is changing, platforms are changing, even the shapes of these little SUVs are changing. So in this video, we're going through 10 real, announced compact electric SUVs that you should absolutely have on your radar for 2026 and beyond. And I'll walk you through the tech, the batteries, the platforms, and the kind of driver each one really suits. Welcome back to Autopedia, your nerdy English corner of the internet, where we turn car marketing into actual engineering. Today's list is focused on genuinely compact EVs. Think city-friendly footprint, SUV stance, and usable space that either launch by 2026 or arrive as 2027 models, but are clearly part of that same wave. All of them are official, not wild concepts someone sketched in their lunch break. Quick roadmap for the episode. For each SUV, I'll tell you what platform it's built on and what that means for packaging and efficiency, battery chemistry, capacity, and realistic range, charging speeds and how road trip ready it really is, driver assistance and software, and who should actually buy it. And yes, we're doing this as a countdown. So let's start at number 10. Number 10, the Hyundai INSTER, the city hacker of this list. The Hyundai INSTER is basically Hyundai looking at Europe's tiny car segment and saying, all right, you want a proper EV city car that doesn't feel like a penalty box? Here. It's a very small urban SUV, based on the same bones as the Casper, but made electric and surprisingly grown up. Under the floor, Hyundai offers two battery options, roughly 42 kilowatt-hours and 49 kilowatt-hours usable capacity. With the larger 49 kilowatt-hour pack and the more efficient wheel and tire combo, Hyundai quotes up to about 229 miles of range on the WLTP cycle in the UK, and up to around 370 kilometers in broader European communications. For a car that's mainly going to live in the city, that's actually a lot. You're not going to be charging every night unless you're doing rideshare. It isn't just about range, though. A key thing about INSTER is that Hyundai has designed it as a real car in miniature. The wheelbase and track are unusually generous for this class, and Hyundai themselves point out that the wide track and long wheelbase are what give it that stable, planted feel in corners and on the motorway. That's exactly the sort of thing you can only do properly when you've planned the electric packaging from day one. Charging is solid for this size of EV. On DC fast charging, Hyundai quotes around 30 minutes for a 10 to 80% top-up on the bigger battery under ideal conditions. That tells you a couple of things. First, INSTER isn't chasing headline 350 kilowatt numbers. It's more like a sensibly sized charging curve for a compact battery. And second, the car is optimized around real-world use, rapid enough for a coffee stop, not over-engineered. On the hardware side, you get up to 49 kilowatt-hours battery capacity, a front-mounted motor, and a typical small EV power output that's more about smooth, instant torque than tire-smoking acceleration. Hyundai also calls out features like V2L, vehicle to load, in some markets, essentially turning the car into a rolling 230-volt power bank, so you can plug in tools, laptops, or even a coffee machine when you're parked. That's a huge quality of life feature if you do weekend trips, camping, or mobile work. Inside, INSTER leans heavily into its small but smart personality. Upright seating to make the most of cabin height, clever storage solutions, and tech that doesn't feel stripped down compared to bigger Hyundais. The compact exterior length makes it crazy easy to thread through old European city centers or tiny parking garages, but the squared-off roofline and packaging of the battery under the floor means people in the back don't feel punished. So who is the Hyundai INSTER for? If you live mostly in the city, you want a car that is genuinely easy to park and cheap to run, but you're not ready to go down to a tiny hatchback footprint. This sits in a sweet spot. It's also a nice first EV because the range is enough that you can experiment with charging without anxiety, and the car doesn't feel like a downgrade from a proper B-segment crossover. Think of it as the compact, honest EV that will make a lot of other fake SUV city cars feel old. Number 9. The Škoda Epiq, the value engineer's electric city SUV. Move one size up, and you hit the Škoda Epiq, which is kind of the rational brain of this list. Škoda describes it as a 4.1-meter-long all-electric city SUV crossover, with a boot around 475 liters. That's massive for something in the B segment, and a target starting price of about 25,000 euros. What's interesting here is how aggressively the Volkswagen Group is using its shared small EV architecture. Epiq sits on the group's entry-level electric platform, related to what underpins the upcoming VW ID, Polo and ID Cross, but Škoda is clearly tuning it to their usual simply clever brief. So rather than chasing outright performance, the focus is on packaging, practicality, and range efficiency. Škoda talks about a targeted range of up to around 400+ kilometers WLTP for Epiq, depending on battery and specification, using the group's latest front-wheel drive EV setup. Battery sizes haven't all been published in detail yet, but expect something in the mid-40s kWh for the entry version and a larger pack, likely around 50 to 60 kWh gross for the long-range models. The fact that Škoda explicitly calls out everyday usability and family duty tells you they won't ship a version that feels marginal on range. Design-wise, Epiq debuts Škoda's new modern, solid design language in the size class. Blocky, robust proportions, a closed, tech deck face where a traditional grille would be, and very defined shoulders. That's not just style. Those clean volumes also give them nice, straight interior panels and big door apertures, which make the cabin genuinely practical. Easy to get kids in and out, easy to load bulky items. In the boot, you're looking at around 475 liters of space with the rear seats up, and Škoda is promising the usual extras like hooks, dividers, and underfloor compartments. Combine that with a flat floor, and you get a small EV that can legitimately cover family car duties, not just groceries and a backpack. On the tech side, Epiq will leverage the same software generation as VW's latest small IDs, with over-the-air updates, a fully digital cockpit, and a central infotainment system that finally fixes a lot of the user interface complaints people had with early MEB cars. Expect a full suite of ADAS, adaptive cruise, lane centering, automated emergency braking, and smart parking features. So who is Epiq for? If you've been looking at something like a petrol Comic or VW T-Cross and thinking, I'd go electric if the numbers made sense, this is literally built for you. The price target puts it into mainstream company car and family car territory. The range and boot space mean you don't have to completely change your lifestyle, and Škoda's approach usually means low running costs. It's the sensible, spreadsheet-approved choice on this list, and that's not an insult. Number 8, the BYD Atto 2, the Blade Battery City crossover. From Europe, we jump to China's EV powerhouse, BYD. The BYD Atto 2 is their small electric SUV for Europe and other markets, sitting below the Atto 3, and it's already listed on BYD's official European and UK sites as an electric compact SUV. BYD has a huge advantage. They make their own batteries, and the Atto 2 uses a version of the famous BYD Blade battery on the dedicated ePlatform 3.0. That platform is designed from the ground up for EVs, so the battery pack is a structural element, the floor is genuinely flat, and cooling, electronics, and crash structures are all optimized for an electric powertrain. In the UK, one of the early specs for Atto 2 shows a boost version with a 51.1 kilowatt-hours battery, a 130 kilowatt motor, that's about 177 PS, and a WLTP combined range of around 214 miles, depending on tire and trim. That's a very reasonable balance for a compact city SUV, quick enough for confident overtakes, and a range that comfortably handles weekly commuting plus weekend trips. Some other markets quote a WLTP range figure closer to 340 to 350 kilometers with the same roughly 51 kilowatt-hours pack, underlining that this is a genuinely efficient package for its size. Charging is one of Atto 2's party tricks for its segment. The European site highlights support for up to about 65 kilowatt DC fast charging, taking the battery from 30 to 80% in around 28 minutes. Again, this isn't aiming at ultra-fast 800-volt hardware. It's tuned so that the charging infrastructure you actually find in European towns, 50 to 100 kilowatt chargers, will give you a proper boost in the time it takes to grab a coffee. Practicality? BYD quotes a 400-liter boot, expanding to 1,340 liters with the rear seats folded, plus clever in-cabin storage for everyday stuff. On a 4-point-something meter car, that's strong. It lands in the same ballpark as European B SUVs like Capture, but with a more EV-native floor. On the software and safety front, Atto 2 doesn't feel low budget. It gets BYD's full ADAS suite, including lane keeping, adaptive cruise, and automatic emergency braking, as well as the brand's familiar large central touchscreen and a digital instrument cluster. BYD's cabin design language is a bit more playful than the German brands. Expect bold shapes and a slightly more tech-gadget-feeling interior. Who's this for? The Atto 2 is for people who care about EV tech more than badges. If you like the idea of running a car built around BYD's Blade battery, which has become something of a benchmark for safety and longevity, and you want a small SUV that's extremely efficient, this will be very tempting. It's also going to put massive price pressure on established brands, especially if BYD continues its aggressive European pricing. Number 7. The Renault 4 E-Tech Electric. Retro design, modern EV platform. Now for something with a lot more emotion. The Renault 4 E-Tech Electric. This is not just a nostalgic revival, it's a key plank in Renault's small EV strategy in Europe. Renault describes it as the most versatile electric vehicle in the B segment, designed to take the original Renault 4's do-everything personality and reinterpret it as a modern compact EV crossover. Under the skin, the Renault 4 uses the new Ampere small platform, formerly CMF-B EV, which it shares with the Renault 5 E-Tech Electric. This architecture is purpose-built for small EVs. The battery pack is integrated into the floor. The front subframe carries an all-electric powertrain, and the rear uses a semi-independent suspension setup, tuned for both comfort and the weight of a battery. Renault highlights the low center of gravity, the one-pedal driving mode, and that dedicated EV platform as key reasons why the car manages to combine comfort with agile handling. You get two main motor and battery combinations. The urban range version uses a 90 kilowatt motor and a roughly 40 kilowatt-hour battery for a quoted WLTP range of about 308 kilometers. The comfort range version bumps that to about 110 kilowatts and a 52 kilowatt-hour battery for up to roughly 409 kilometers of WLTP range. Those are serious numbers for something that sits above a Renault Clio in size, but below a typical compact SUV. It makes Renault 4 a realistic single-car solution, even for people who occasionally do longer motorway runs. Inside, the packaging is honestly one of the big selling points. Renault claims best-in-class interior space and a 420-liter boot with a very low load sill, about 61 centimeters, which they point out is around 10 centimeters lower than the segment average. That's the kind of detail that tells you engineers were given real freedom. If you've ever tried having a heavy stroller or a big dog into a high-silled crossover, you'll understand why that matters. Renault also calls out a modular layout with up to 2.2 meters of load length when you drop seats, so you can carry bikes, boards, or flat-pack furniture with ease. Tech-wise, Renault 4 gets the full OpenR Link infotainment system with Google built in and over 100 available apps, plus Reno, the Renault AI avatar that acts as your in-car assistant. There's proper Level 2 driver assistance with lane centering, adaptive cruise, traffic jam assist, and all the usual safety nets like blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. Design might be the clincher, though. The 4 E-Tech Electric keeps the iconic boxy silhouette and face of the original R4, but modernizes it with LED lighting and, on some trims, an illuminated grille and logo that uses light signatures in place of chrome. It's deliberately friendly and recognizable. You can spot it from a distance, which is a nice counterpoint to a lot of anonymous crossovers on the road today. So who should look at the Renault 4? This is for you if you want a genuinely versatile family EV that still fits European cities, but you're bored of anonymous designs. It's also strongly positioned as an everything car. School runs, weekend trips, light adventure, and it's already doing well on the French market, which is a good sign for its practicality claims. Number 6. The Suzuki eVitara, the first battery-electric Vitara for the world. You can't talk about small SUVs without talking about the Vitara name, and now Suzuki has finally done the thing, made a full battery-electric version. Officially called the eVitara, often stylized eVitara, this is Suzuki's first mass-production BEV, and it's specifically pitched as a global compact SUV, launching in Europe and other regions from 2025, with Japanese sales starting in January 2026. Suzuki's engineering story here is actually pretty interesting. The eVitara is built on a new BV-specific platform called HardEct E, derived from Suzuki's lightweight HardEct architecture, but strengthened and reshaped around a battery pack. That gives the car a stiff, low center of gravity base while keeping overall weight in check, crucial for efficiency and handling in a small SUV. Battery options are very clear and very consumer-friendly. You can get a 49 kilowatt-hour pack or a 61 kilowatt-hour pack. With front-wheel drive and the 49 kilowatt-hour battery, power is about 106 kilowatts and torque around 193 newton meters. Step up to the 61 kilowatt-hour pack, and front-wheel drive jumps to roughly 128 kilowatts with the same 193 newton meters. If you go all in for the 4WD update version with the 61 kilowatt-hour battery, output climbs to roughly 135 kilowatts, and torque goes up significantly to about 307 newton meters, thanks to the additional rear motor. Suzuki calls this all-electric four-wheel drive system All-Grip E, and it's a big part of the Vitara story. This isn't just a styling package with an SUV ride height. It's intended to handle rougher roads, snow, and light off-road with genuine torque vectoring between axles. If you live somewhere with real winters, or you regularly head to the mountains, that's a big differentiator versus front-drive-only city EVs. Range, hey. Suzuki quotes an electric range between about 213 and 264 miles WLTP, depending on battery size and configuration. For a compact SUV on a 61 kilowatt-hour pack, that's respectable and lines up with the idea of the car being used as a daily and a weekend vehicle. DC charging is supported at up to roughly 70 kilowatts, and Suzuki says a 10 to 80% fast charge can take about 45 minutes under optimal conditions. That's not record-breaking, but it's perfectly in line with its battery size and intended use. Interior packaging keeps things familiar for current Vitara owners. You have seating for 5, with sliding and reclining rear seats, which makes a big difference to comfort and cargo flexibility in a small SUV. The boot remains versatile enough for family use, though Suzuki focuses their materials more on seats, space, and rear seat adjustability than posting a single headline boot volume. On the tech side, the eVitara comes with a modern infotainment system, including smartphone connectivity, and a package of driver assistance features as standard. Blind spot monitor, rear cross-traffic alert, adaptive cruise control, and more. Suzuki Cars UK. It's clear that Suzuki wants this car to feel like a credible alternative to bigger brands' small EVs, especially in markets where Vitara already has a loyal following. What I like about the eVitara in this 2026 small SUV landscape is that it's not trying to be a fashion object. It's a very honest EV. Number 5. The Toyota Urban Cruiser EV, the hidden engineer's choice. The Toyota Urban Cruiser looks pretty understated in pictures, but once you dig into the technical data, you realize it's one of the most carefully optimized small EV SUVs coming for 2026. Under the floor, you've got a roughly 49 kilowatt-hour gross battery, with about 48 kilowatt-hours usable. The official German spec sheet quotes 49 kilowatt-hour brutto and 48 kilowatt-hours netto, paired to a single front motor that puts out about 144 PS, that's 106 kilowatts, and drives the front wheels through a single-speed reduction gear. On efficiency, Toyota really leans into its hybrid background. The combined WLTP consumption starts as low as about 14.9 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers in some configurations, and they break it down further, around 10.1 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers in city use, 10.9 on the urban fringe, 13.3 on country roads, and about 20.2 on the Autobahn. That's the sort of detailed breakdown you usually only see from a company that has been obsessing over energy flows for decades. What does that give you in range? On the German technical sheet, the combined WLTP electric range is quoted at around 344 kilometers, with inner-city range up to 482 kilometers, thanks to all the stop-and-go regen opportunities. Over in the UK, Toyota markets the car as offering up to 264 miles of range. That's roughly 425 kilometers, which fits those WLTP numbers when you account for trim and wheel differences. For a compact SUV in this class, those are strong figures. Charging hardware is sensible rather than headline grabbing, an 11 kilowatt onboard AC charger and up to 53 kilowatts on DC. That means that on a typical European 11 kilowatt wall box, you're looking at an overnight charge from low to full, and on a 50 kilowatt public charger, you can comfortably do a 10 to 80% top up in a coffee plus email check length stop, instead of being stuck in one place for ages. Performance is very real world. Toyota quotes 0-100 km per hour in about 9.6 seconds and a top speed of 150 km per hour. So this is not trying to be a drag strip monster. It's tuned to feel quick enough off the line and relaxed on the motorway without over-motorizing a small battery. On the chassis side, you've got vented front discs with 2-piston calipers and ventilated rear discs integrated with the motor drive unit, plus a suspension that's clearly tuned around mixed use, city, B-roads, and a sensible 750 kilogram towing capacity, both braked and unbraked. The towing figure is quite important. A lot of B-segment EVs give you either 0 or very token tow ratings, so being able to legally tow a small trailer or a couple of bikes opens up use cases. Interior practicality is quietly excellent. The boot opening is wide. Toyota lists a luggage compartment height of 380 millimeters to the tonneau cover, 675 millimeters length, and 1,020 millimeters maximum width, and the rear bench folds 40-20-40 so you can mix passengers and long objects. The rear seats also slide, which lets you move between more legroom and more boot depending on the trip. That's a trick you usually see on bigger, heavier cars, not on compact EVs. Tech and safety? This is Toyota, so the urban cruiser comes stuffed with Toyota Teammate systems, adaptive cruise, lane tracing assist, pre-collision with pedestrian and cyclist detection, blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, traffic sign recognition, and a proper rear camera, plus front and rear parking sensors. In daily driving, that means you can basically drive it like a semi-autonomous car on the motorway. You're still in charge, but the car handles the boring parts. The character of the urban cruiser is very grown-up. It doesn't shout about its EV tech, but technically, it's one of the cleverest packages here. Efficient, well-protected battery, super sensible motor output, usable range, and a serious safety suite. If you want a compact EV SUV that just quietly does everything right, this is one to watch. Number 4, the Volkswagen ID Cross. MB Plus goes small and serious. Volkswagen has shown a lot of ID-branded concept cars over the years, but the ID Cross concept is different. This one is explicitly described as a near-production compact SUV on the new MEB Plus architecture, with the production version due to debut in 2026 as VW's small electric SUV in the T-Cross class. Let's start with the platform. ID Cross rides on MEB Plus, the evolution of the MEB electric modular platform that underpins the current ID3, ID4, and others. MEB Plus is all about improved batteries, motors, and software, and crucially for this car, it moves to front-wheel drive for small entry-level models. That means the motor and power electronics sit in a compact front axle module with a thin high-voltage battery pack in the floor, freeing up cabin and boot space and keeping the center of gravity low. Technically, the concept's drive system is very clear. 155 kilowatts, that's 211 PS, to the front wheels, with a WLTP forecast range of up to 420 kilometers. VW doesn't quote the exact battery capacity in that press release, but if you look at their other MEB Plus range figures, that kind of range on a compact SUV strongly suggests something in the 50 to 60 kilowatt-hour usable range, with the benefits of the improved MEB Plus cell tech and a refined motor. Size-wise, it's bang in the heart of the BSUV segment, 4,161 millimeters long, 1,039 millimeters wide, and 1,588 millimeters tall, riding on a 2,601 millimeter wheelbase. That's basically T-Cross dimensions, but with a much more space-efficient interior. VW quotes an above-average boot volume of about 450 liters, plus an extra 25-liter front trunk, which is a nice touch in this class, and makes it feel more EV native than just an electrified petrol car. The packaging is where things get fun. The unusual width of the car and the flat floor make the cabin feel more like a C-segment hatch in terms of shoulder room. The rear seats fold to create a long load area, and the rear overhang is short, which is ideal when you're threading through tight urban streets or parking in old European city centers. VW is also being very deliberate about calling this a compact SUV for affordable electric mobility, and they even quote the tow figures: 1,200 kilograms brake trailer weight on an 8% gradient and a 75 kilogram drawbar load, enough to legally carry 2 e-bikes on a tow ball rack. Those are exactly the kind of real usage details family buyers want. Inside, the ID Cross concept shows off VW's new pure positive interior design language: lounge-like materials, pre-configured atmospheres with coordinated light, sound, and climate, and a very clean, decluttered cockpit. You get an 11-inch driver display and a 13-inch central infotainment touchscreen lined up on one visual axis, and a redesigned multifunction steering wheel with clear physical controls instead of the controversial capacitive touchpads from earlier ID models. On the software side, the production ID Cross will benefit from the new generation of MEB software: improved travel assist, better voice control, more responsive infotainment, and a more cohesive over-the-air update strategy. VW explicitly says MEB Plus is the key to bringing features from higher segments down to entry-level cars. So who is this car for? If you like the idea of a T-Cross-sized SUV but don't want to be stuck in combustion engine land for the next decade, ID Cross is basically the electric T-Cross 2.0, but quieter, more efficient, and with genuinely modern software. Number 3. The next-generation Chevrolet Bolt EV. Ultium goes affordable. Now we move to something that's more platform promise than finished product, but it's too important to leave off the list: the next-generation Chevrolet Bolt. Officially, GM and Chevrolet have confirmed that a new Bolt is coming back, based on GM's Ultium battery architecture and Ultifi software platform, with a focus on keeping what made the original Bolt successful: strong range, good tech, and genuinely affordable pricing. The key line from GM's own announcement is that they will deliver a new Bolt by updating the vehicle with Ultium and Ultifi technologies, rather than doing a clean sheet design. That means you can think of this as a re-engineered Bolt on a modern EV toolkit. New cells, new battery pack layout, updated power electronics, and a much more flexible software layer. What do we know for sure? First, it will run Ultium batteries. Ultium is GM's modular pouch cell system that can scale across small cars, trucks, and SUVs, and can be packaged flat in the floor with a structural roll in the body. That alone should mean improvements in energy density and potentially charging performance versus the current Bolt. Second, it will use Ultifi, GM's software platform for vehicle functions, connectivity, and over-the-air updates. In practice, that means far better update support and the ability to add or enhance driver assistance features and infotainment over the life of the car, something the original Bolt never fully enjoyed. Third, Chevrolet is very clear that this new Bolt is meant to be executed more quickly and with lower engineering expense by leaning on Ultium and Ultifi, which hints at a very pragmatic, value-focused engineering program rather than a showpiece tech demo. What we do not have yet, as of now, are official numbers for battery capacity, range, motor power, or charging speed. All GM says in that press note is that the current Bolt EV has a 259-mile EPA range, and that timing and specific details about the next-generation Bolt will be announced at a later date. So you'll see a lot of guesses online. It'll have X kilowatt-hour, Y kilowatts, and so on. But those are just guesses. From a physics and product planning point of view, it's reasonable to expect that an Ultium-based compact crossover Bolt will at least match or exceed that 259-mile EPA figure in its most efficient trims, especially with newer cells and better thermal management. But until GM publishes those numbers, we have to treat it as an informed expectation, not a fact. Still, the reason this car absolutely belongs on a 2026 plus watch list is simple. The original Bolt was the first mass-market long-range EV for normal people, and it earned extremely high loyalty scores. GM explicitly calls out that roughly 70% of Bolt buyers come from other brands, and around 80% of owners stay with Chevy. Put Ultium underneath that formula, give it a small SUV stance, and you have one of the most important affordable EVs of the late decade. If you're in North America and you want a compact EV that doesn't require a premium badge and doesn't destroy your budget, but still uses truly modern EV hardware and software, the next bolt is the one you keep an eye on. Just remember, until Chevrolet publishes the full spec sheet, treat every number you see outside official channels as speculation. Number 2, the Kia EV3, Mini EV9 brain, compact footprint. Now the car on this list that feels most like a baby flagship, the Kia EV3. This is Kia shrinking the design language and tech philosophy of the big EV9 into a compact SUV you can actually park in a normal space. Technically, the big headline is the battery and range. Kia offers the EV3 with 2 lithium-ion packs, about 58.3 kilowatt-hours and 81.4 kilowatt-hours. On the global site, Kia quotes a headline 605 kilometers all-electric range for the long-range 2WD model with the 81.4 kilowatt-hours battery based on WLTP estimates and a 10 to 80% DC fast charge time of about 31 minutes. For a compact SUV, those are borderline D-segment numbers. Drive is via a permanent magnet synchronous motor on the front axle in most trims with around 170 kilowatts, about 230 PS, quoted on some spec sheets, and a torque figure tuned for that instant EV shove without wasting energy spinning the tires. The platform is a variation of Hyundai Kia's dedicated EV architecture, with a flat floor, structural battery, and the usual cocktail of high-strength steel and aluminium in the body. Aerodynamics are doing a ridiculous amount of work here. Kia specifically calls out a low drag coefficient of about 0.263 thanks to an aero-optimized underbody, active air flaps, flush door handles, and carefully shaped wheels. Put that together with an 81.4 kilowatt-hour pack, and you understand how they get to that 605 km WLTP range target. It's not magic, it's physics plus obsessive detail. Charging and energy management are also very modern. You get bidirectional capability with in-vehicle and outdoor V2L, vehicle to load, so you can run laptops, tools, or even a small campsite off the car. The iPedal 3.0 one-pedal drive system lets you dial in different levels of regenerative braking, from a more coasting-like feel up to strong deceleration purely on liftoff, which not only saves your friction brakes, but also squeezes maximum energy back into the pack. Inside, EV3 goes full rolling living room in a way that a lot of legacy brands still haven't dared in this size class. There's an ultra-wide 30-inch display surface split into a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, a 5-inch climate panel, and a 12.3-inch AVN unit, backed by a Harman Kardon audio system in higher trims. You get streaming media directly in the car via Kia Connect Store, plus optional relaxation seats that recline for comfort while charging, and even themed UI packs like NBA-themed display layouts. Driver assist technology is correspondingly advanced. EV3 can be optioned with lane centering assist, smart cruise control that uses navigation data, highway driving assist, remote parking, and a new Kia AI assistant that can handle travel queries, media requests, even some everyday Q&A. It's not just marketing fluff. This is the same philosophy that made the EV9 feel like a tech product rather than just a car, just condensed into a footprint that works for Europe and crowded cities. The personality of EV3 is interesting. It's not pretending to be rugged, but it has a tall, strong stance and a lot of packaging generosity inside. If you want a compact SUV that can genuinely cover long-distance work, 400 to 600 kilometers real-world on a charge, depending on version and conditions, and you care as much about the software and cabin experience as you do about the drivetrain, EV3 is a top-tier candidate. Number 1. The Volvo EX30 Cross Country. Tiny footprint, big adventure. And at the top of this list, we have the Volvo EX30 Cross Country, probably the most future-proof tiny SUV you'll see on the road in 2026. EX30 on its own is already interesting. It's Volvo's smallest fully electric SUV, with a range between roughly 337 and 476 kilometers WLTP, depending on whether you pick the single-motor or single-motor extended range variants, and up to about 450 kilometers for the regular twin-motor performance. It can charge from 10 to 80% in about 26 minutes on a 150-plus kilowatt DC fast charger, and the powertrains go up to 315 kilowatts, 428 PS, in the twin-motor version, with 0-100 km per hour in as little as 3.6 seconds. For a small SUV, that's wild. The cross-country version takes that base package and leans into the take-it-anywhere side of life. Volvo's own communication for the EX30 cross-country in Europe makes it very clear. This is still a compact, city-friendly SUV, but it's tuned for rougher roads, light trails, and bad weather, with a WLTP range of up to about 425 kilometers and the same roughly 26-minute 10 to 80% DC charging time as the regular EX30. In markets like the US, Volvo quotes EPA estimated ranges up to about 261 miles for the single-motor extended range, around 253 miles for twin-motor performance, and about 227 miles for the cross-country twin-motor performance on 19-inch wheels. That gives you a realistic sense of highway range in harsher test cycles. Technically, the cross-country sticks with the EX30's twin-motor performance setup, one motor on each axle, up to around 315 kilowatts combined, all-wheel drive, and a big slab of instant torque. It adds ride height, protective cladding, unique wheels and tires better suited to mixed surfaces, and small but important details like skid plate-style protection and integrated roof rack options that make it easier to mount gear for biking, skiing, or surfing. Underneath, the EX30 platform puts the battery pack structurally in the floor, with a short overall length, long wheelbase, and very rigid body structure. That combination is part of why reviewers keep talking about the car feeling planted and heavier class stable despite its small size, low center of gravity, wide track, and the right suspension geometry. Charging behavior is particularly well thought out. Volvo not only quotes the roughly 26-minute 10-80% DC time, they also build in features like automatic battery preconditioning when you set a fast charger as your destination, and reminders when state of charge drops towards 20%, with suggested chargers appearing in Google Maps on the central screen. That's exactly the kind of invisible UX smoothing that makes EV ownership less stressful. Inside, the EX30 Cross Country keeps the minimalist Scandinavian interior, a big central portrait touchscreen, a soundbar integrated into the dash, recycled and renewable materials, and a very open cabin layout despite the small exterior footprint. The car is officially a 5-seater, but think of the rear bench as 2 adults plus a kid on longer trips. This is still a B-segment SUV in absolute size. Safety, as you'd expect from Volvo, is a huge part of the story. You get a full suite of driver assistance systems, collision mitigation with oncoming vehicle braking, lane keeping, adaptive cruise with lane centering, cross-traffic alert, door opening alerts for cyclists, and more. A lot of that tech has trickled down from larger Volvos, which means you're effectively getting big car safety thinking in a tiny footprint. What makes the EX30 Cross Country special in this 2026 landscape is that it combines 3 things that rarely coexist. It's genuinely small on the outside, easy to park, easy in tight streets. It has serious powertrain options and proper OEW capability. It's designed from day one as a fully electric adventure-capable SUV, not just a styling package. If you're the kind of driver who lives in the city Monday to Friday, but spends weekends on mountain passes, gravel roads, or beach car parks, EX30 Cross Country is one of the few compact EVs that feels truly built around that dual-life brief. If this helped you get a clearer picture of what's coming, do me a favor, hit like, so the algorithm actually shows this to other EV nerds. Subscribe to Autopedia for more deep dive breakdowns, and drop a comment telling me which of these SUVs you'd actually put your own money on. And if you're watching this from the future, let me know down below which of these cars actually lived up to the hype.